Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and the Maldives, with a focus on manufacturing, agribusiness, and services. Harsh, please take your seat at the stage. And now we are very happy to have with us following distinguished panelists, Ms. Uzma Chowdhury, who is a group director at Pran Group. Have Uzma? Happy to meet you again. So we also have Dr. Ansari, President of ACI Agribusiness. Please take your seat on the stage. We also have Mahbooba Said, who is the Chief Operation Officer at IFAD Multi Products. I think that Mr. Bassett is on his way. No? Okay, we also have Monica Chanda, Principal Investment Officer at IFC, and she is joining us online. So let me maybe announce one more time. Mr. Mahbooba said, we inviting you to join our discussion at this stage. Thank you. So Harsh, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Harsh Vivek, and I represent the International Finance Corporation, and I'm the country anchor for mass upstream and advisory services covering non-India, South Asian countries. I'm based in Bangladesh, and I'm really delighted to be here today. Thank you, everyone, again for coming to this event. And we're starting dot on time, and we have about 60 minutes for a in-depth discussion with our private sector leaders from Bangladesh around opportunities and challenges in food fortification. We have a very esteemed group of panel speakers, and they represent companies which need no introduction. They're all household names. We all consume their food products, but I'll still take the liberty of introducing our very esteemed panelists to you. So to my left, we have Ms. Usma. She represents Pran RFL Group, long-standing IFC client, both on investments and advisory services. Pran, of course, is a household name in Bangladesh, needs no introduction. And Ms. Usma, of course, needs no introduction. She's the face of Bangladesh's female leaders in business. So thank you, ma'am, for coming, and we really appreciate your time. We also have Dr. Ansari from ACI. He heads the agribusiness division of the group. Again, a household name, diversified company. You know, we all consume their food products. They are across the value chain in agribusiness. And we also are very fortunate that they are into fortified foods as well. And Dr. Ansari, thank you for coming. We look forward to hearing from you more around the opportunities you see in fortified food businesses. And then we have with us Mr. Mehboob Bassett. He's the Chief Operations Officer at the IFAD Multi Products Limited. Again, a diversified company, very well-known Bangladeshi brand. We have a number of products in the agribusiness space from IFAD. And Mr. Bassett, thank you again for coming to the panel, and we look forward to hearing more from you in terms of opportunities and challenges that you see in fortified foods. And then we have Monica Chander. She's IFC's seasoned investment professional. She's currently the regional head of industry for operations in manufacturing, agribusiness, and services. She's based in Delhi, and she's connecting with us virtually. As in when I ask her the questions, I'm sure she'll be on the screen as well. So thank you, everyone, and thank you to the panelists. I will have a set of questions, and then we can have open discussions with the audience. My very first question, and this is to all the private sector representatives, is that where do you see the opportunity in fortified food businesses in the overall agribusiness in your company. You've got number of products, not everything is fortified, but within your agribusiness space, where do you see the opportunity for fortified foods? And what's your vision for that particular vertical for the next 5 years? So where do you see it? Is it growing? Is it, it's up to you. I mean, we want to hear from you your vision around fortified food businesses within the larger business that you are managing. Thank you. Mrs. Mo, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting, and I'm delighted to be here. It's a very interesting event, and fortification, I would say, in Bangladesh, we are in the very starting edge, and that is something that I would say Gaines Foundation and IFC together is actually initiating this project. Um, Bangladesh has grown with the private sector. Like Bangladesh has been very successful in terms of private sector development in through different kinds of profitable businesses. The nation has competitive advantage in agricultural produce, and agricultural processing is the key to success. The way we can produce our we can we can um, we can grow our products like 3 crops in a year. That is very I mean, it's not a very common thing for rest of the world. So that is something that Bangladesh can very easily do without too many natural calamities or not too many challenges. We can produce stuff, but in order to make those products available to the international market and sell those in the international market, this is fortification would be one of the key elements. First, we had to learn about the food safety of those products, and then fortification is the next step for opening the door of Bangladeshi products in the international market. We have to learn. I mean, we have to agree to this. Like in Bangladesh, we do not have very many experts who can help us on this subject. And I'm very happy. It's a very timely event that IFC and Gain Foundation has taken this, picked this up together. And the knowledge sharing of our with our local experts will have will actually open the door for international market. Hopefully, we will be able to sell our products to the international market without any barriers. So as far as the time is concerned, this is something that's very important, and this is the key to success. We are trying, as Bangladesh nation, we are trying to export our portfolio to the outside world, and agricultural products are the own thing that we can sell to the world. And if we can fortify some of our products, that will actually give the success to our products. It will open the door for the international market. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was a great, I think, comments I hear from our colleagues from the industry. Wonderful. I think ACI mission to improve the quality of life through responsible application of knowledge, skill, and technology. And here we can see the big opportunities in fortification of food. This is very, very important. I think we have to remember one thing, that food is food. And if I say that someone that food is nutrition, if you eat more, probably food is a culture. So probably people may not take it because of it has extra nutrition, all these things. Only little and few people who are very conscious, they'll take it. So we have to be very careful exactly how we're going to communicate and how we're going to offer the actually this kind of fortified food. This is very, very important. So there are 2-3 aspects in fortification: is biofortification, and then of course commercial and industrial fortification, and also synthetic fortification. I see the easy way to fortify the food, I think, and the opportunity through the biofortification in crop R&D. And we are focusing very deeply into this kind of aspect. One is the gene enriched rice. We have recently released gene enriched rice, and it contains about 25.12 milligram per kilo zinc. Generally, a human being need about 10 to 11 milligrams per day. So So I think through consumption of 340 grams of rice, probably there are possibilities to fulfill the daily requirement of gym through this kind of use of this kind of varieties of rice. This is very important. We also release high gluten, high protein wheat through our own R&D. And this actually the gum on the variety having 32.2% gluten and 13.2% protein. This is very, very important. Generally in this country, most of the variety protein percentage is 9% and gluten is around 22%. And ACA gum to having 28.9% gluten and 12.9% protein. So you can see that these are the innovation and introduction we have done recently. Antioxidant rich potatoes, SA Alu 20 and SA Alu 21 and SA Alu 28 having antioxidant properties, and hygiene hybrid rice also we have released. So I think why I mentioned this kind of innovation, how I mentioned about these varieties and also the content of materials. Actually, when somebody cook or eat something and it contain already something, then you don't need to promote extra. You don't need to promote and put any extra effort to promote this product so that this product will take automatically. Because I have mentioned in my beginning of my discussion that food is a culture. It is not something that if you say someone, it is a high mineral, high vitamin, high something, it will not attract anybody because people have a habit. People will eat rice, and if people will eat potato, people will eat, the wheat flavor, wheat produced bread and all these things. So this will be the one of the easiest way to reach people through this kind of fortification. And commercial and industrial fortification, I think, as usual, we are trying our best to do it through the grain, through the salt, through the pure, I think, edible oil and all these things. And also sometimes we also trying through the snacks food. So these are our try, and I can see there are also opportunities in this country. And this is not very difficult, but it is very, very difficult to communicate and convince and reach the consumer because of the same reason that food is a culture. It is not something that somebody will eat vitamins and all these things. And synthetic fortification, I think through our pharmaceutical interventions, we put some product that contain high, folic acid as well as vitamin B complex and all these things. So these are the efforts we have given because there are opportunity in the market, and I believe that there are huge opportunity in fortification area, but we have to be very careful. The cost of communication could be very high. I think cost of capacity building will be very high, but if we can do it properly through this kind of crops and all these kind of things, it will be much easier, and there are also opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. Rosette, over to you.
Thank you. I'm thankful and appreciative to IFC, Gain and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for inviting us to this session. Regarding the opportunities of the fortified food, I personally
point of view is consumer or end user awareness build-up is very important. If the consumers or the end users, if they do not know why should I take fortified food, then the problem is we will not be able to expand the business or expand the product line, or we will not be able to do the SQ extension, so to speak. So basically, it is imperative that the private and also basically the government sector, also the NGOs and the donor agencies, they basically invest in terms of increasing the awareness. For example, if the consumers know that basically the food intake or the lifestyle that we have, basically the products that come from the daily business, they lack micronutrients. For example, zinc. Zinc basically stays on the surface of the product. The moment it's struck, it goes away. And also, for example, a large part of my career, I basically spent in Africa, Middle East. So I remember when we were attending a consumer study in Middle East, we found that basically women in different GCC countries, those who used to stay in the upcountry locations, they used to lack a lot. Their there was significant vitamin deficiency because they were using their hijab and also they used to remain indoors. So it gave us an opportunity to fortify the hair oil with the vitamins, basically. Now the problem is the countries, the GCC markets, they can probably afford the product. And if we request our promoters, they will probably invest in one or two product lines until and until the consumer uh, basically their awareness will increase, will not be able to extend it to all the product items. For example, commodity items like basically wheat flour, they are basically not margin activities, they are margin activities categories, so to speak. So if you want to extend it to, for example, edible oil, mustard oil, and others, we need to have a larger consumer base. So it is a slow burning process. When the moment we start investing in building consumer awareness, then there will be a lot of opportunities for us to extend the fortification range in all the product items. And also, for example, we also export export our goods to more than 20 countries. European market and North American market, the consumers will to pay premium products. But in the GCC market, when we have the larger workforce from Bangladeshi diaspora, what we need to do is they will not be able to basically consume the 45 products. So if we have the scalability, then we will be able to do this. So it is imperative that the awareness build-up is happening from, and it is not possible only from the private sector. We need all the sectors to come together and invest in building awareness. Thank you.
Building awareness and capacity. And I also heard about food being, of course, cultural, and therefore the communication that goes out to consumers around this also needs to be very carefully thought through. We've also heard that this is quite nascent in Bangladesh and it requires, I think, collective effort to scale it up. With these points, we'll just park them for the time being. I'll just reach out to Monica now for a quick question, and then we will come back to some of these discussions with the private sector. So Monica, if you could hear me, and thank you, I could see you now on the screen as well. As a development financial institution, and you being with the IFC for last 30 years, leading the IFC investments in the region, where do you see agribusiness as a priority for the institution, for the World Bank Group and the IFC? And within that, where is nutrition in our strategy? What is our approach to promoting nutrition through the private sector? So over to you, Monica.
Thank you, Harsh. First, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for having me on this panel. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it in person, but still glad to be speaking about this. I think very important, very timely question. IFC, as everybody knows, is a global development financial institution and as part of the World Bank Group, our mandate is to support the private sector through investments, through advisory services. But in doing so, what we aim to do is to address not only key business challenges, but also development challenges. Today, food safety, security, and nutrition are of strategic importance for IFC. And so agribusiness is definitely a key priority area for IFC, not only in South Asia, but also globally. So through supporting the private sector, IFC supports economies achieve food and nutrition security. And I think through our investments, we've reached about, if memory serves, about 52 million people in developing countries to get better quality food and for improved food and nutrition security. Now, given this, we also know today that there is a huge food crisis in the world. The drivers of food and nutrition insecurity are reversing decades of progress in reducing extreme poverty. There are climate changes, there are disruptions, there are supply chain disruptions, there are localized and regional conflicts that lead to mass displacement, and hence there is widespread. I'm sure you've heard about this earlier in the day, and that affects both human and economic development. And malnutrition, unfortunately, can take various forms. It is not just undernutrition. It could be overweight, obesity, micronutrient deficiencies, and sadly, diet-related non-communicable diseases. I think the stage behind you actually says better life, better business, and I don't think we could sum it up better. So to have better life and better businesses, you need to make sure that nutrition is center stage. And that's where IFC's focus on nutrition is gaining more ground. In South Asia, at least if we talk about South Asia, India, Bangladesh largely, we've invested in a number of companies, both in animal protein, in dairy, to provide safe, sustainable supply of dairy products, animal protein products. We've partnered with Pran. Uzma, good to see you here, but Uzma is a long-standing friend and client. So that we are able to provide affordable, sustainable, safe, high-quality dairy products for the population. Now, I think Dr. Ansari made a very, very important point by saying food is culture. We're all used to food being, part of not just our daily diet. It's also our celebrations. Every life event kind of has food at the center of it. So changing practices, changing palates, changing tastes is not as simple as just saying, okay, I'm going to change the components of this food product today, and this is going to be good for you. It will need a lot of education. It needs a lot of work. And I think that's where IFC comes in, working with our partners, existing partners, and hopefully new clients, where we can work not just on, food fortification, which of course is perhaps one of the most cost-effective and scalable solutions. But as I understand, IFC is also working on commercialization of biofortified crops. We have a number of programs, for example, one with the Gates Foundation to scale food fortification, etc. So there's a whole lot of focus, all this to say that this is at the center stage of our strategy.
Thank you, Monica. So just moving on, we had a very good discussion today morning, and there were a lot of examples brought about from different parts of the world where the need for food fortification and the fact that food fortification helps in addressing nutritional deficiencies was well established. So there is no debate that it is one of the most cost-effective ways of addressing, nutritional challenges. But it requires both the government and the private sector. Now, for the private sector to come in, I would argue that they need to see a business case. Of course, there is development outcome. There's going to be better nutrition. But for private sector to lead, and really rise up to the leadership in this space, they need to see a business opportunity. So my question to all three of you now is, when you look at Bangladesh and the diverse set of, food products that we have, and the food products that you manufacture, you produce, where do you see the opportunity and a business case to fortify? So whether it is, dairy or whatever, I'm not going to give you, pointers, but it's up to you. We want to hear from you. Do you see a business case? Because it has to be driven by a business case if private sector is to lead it. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Definitely we see a business case here. When the crops are growing, the land actually, the land actually, cannot produce the same quality of products all over the years. So fortification is something that for myself, it is required, because some of the fortification is required as we continuously use the land. The same quality products are not produced. So over the years, some of the nutrients needs to be added to the food items. That is one. And the one that the products that we sell to our consumers, it is, something that the consumers we also need to offer them as a product, as a brand strategy. We have to offer them something that is valuable to them. There's a lot of education there. When we started dairy, a lot of people would not be happy to consume the pasteurized, not the pasteurized, the UHT milk. People were concerned, like why we can have, why we should have the UHT milk. People were confused. It's not the real milk. It's something else other than milk. That was the main concern. But as people were educated, we learned. I mean, everybody knows that milk is requirement for all ages, for everybody. We need milk. But the one, I mean, UHT milk, people were not aware. Now people are aware. They know the need. They understand the need, and that's why people are consuming it. So there is education, awareness, and availability. If we don't offer them something to the consumers, they do not know how the milk can be able, I mean, milk can help them. So we have to educate them, offer them, make it available to them, and then it becomes a business case. So, I mean, business case is not only making it available in the shelf, it is also about a brand. When we talk about a brand, it's something, there's a responsibility on the brand, I mean, the producer side, that producers must offer something that is good for the consumers to consume. So there's a responsibility, and who are we offering it? So it's our own people. So if we think, the producers are going to be here forever, we have to offer them something, and that is the brand. That's where the brand value comes over the period. And that's why consumers stick with one brand forever. You know, sometimes we get hooked on with one of the brand and we live with that brand forever, for ages, and we pass that brand value to our next progeny because of the fact that the brands are offering them something real good. This is a belief. This is a faith. That's where the business case comes.
So just one follow-on question before I go, Dr. Ansari. In your dairy business, ma'am, are you now looking to also fortify that milk with vitamin D or whatever?
We would fortify anything that we can. We need to have the knowledge, we need to have the availability, and we have to know how we can make sure our products are better. If we can make the products better, the sales is supposed to go up. I mean, that's how we know that if we give them good products, we will have the hooked on consumers will be there for us. And I mean, dairy and flour, you name it, we are interested to fortify it. We just need to learn, and we have to keep up with the international knowledge that may not be available in our hand right now. We have to learn, and then we have to offer them something. Thanks.
Thank you. Dr. Ansari, over to you.
Thank you. Actually, the population in this country about 180 million. Itself is a very big market, very, very important. And second thing is that food habit. Actually, our food habit is very, very old. We didn't change that much from last so many hundreds and thousands of years. So the addressable market is very, very big. This is very important. But the big challenge is that how to catch this addressable market. If we wish to sell something by adding some kind of minerals or vitamins or fortified something, then whether the customers are ready to pay. Of course, probably some of the small group of customers will be ready to pay and they'll pick it up very quickly. But for the mass scale, to the customer, rice is rice, meat is meat, milk is milk, fruit is fruit. They don't differentiate also. So I think biofortification could be one of the option, an interesting market in this country, when you don't need to promote so much, and automatically it goes through the grain, it goes through the fruits, it goes through the milk, egg, and everything. So that in that aspect, I can see there are big opportunities to attempt to invest in the biofortification, and then from there we can create a big market when we don't need to promote that much the output. Only we need to build our capacity. That is very, very important. And that capacity is very, very expensive also. And it requires a lot of knowledge and skill. And in that route, I think we may try. But of course, if you say the artificial or commercial fortification, we can try. We are trying. SCA is trying, but it is growing very slowly. And it is also very challenging. Thank you.
Just as a follow-on, why is it going very slowly? Or is it because the market is not ready? Or is it because we don't have the right technology? Or you don't see the return that you're investing something in this business line and it's not giving you the adequate? What is the what is the constraint which is not allowing it to be scaled up to the levels that is required?
To start my discussion, I told you that basically food is food and food is a culture. And when people eat, most of the people eat food, they eat rice is rice, chicken is chicken, milk is milk, something like that. And to communicate this value addition, what we have added through adding a lot of cost, I think it is very difficult by the customer to appreciate. And this communication could be very expensive also. So in that respect, I can say that it is not that very easy to communicate to the mass people. Look, we are offering you high nutrition, high protein, and all these things. Probably, I think the appreciation is not that much. Only little number of population nowadays they appreciate, and we can see through the slow growth of this fortified food.
Sure. Okay. Mr. Bassett, do you agree? Is that the experience with IFAD as well?
No, see, Mr. Ansari has rightly pointed out that we have a very large population base. Whenever basically we start making a business case, we look at the size of the prize, how big it is, how attractive it is. So basically, our strength is the large population base. And if we look at the trends from the National Media Survey, we have a very strong middle class, which is rising. For example, it was probably 19% SSE ABC, which has moved to 45%, discounting the debacle that the NMS had probably in terms of rural SEC calculation. But still the middle class is rising. So if we can increase the awareness, so to speak, I think there is a huge market that we can see, so to speak. It is a slow burning process, but we have seen over a period of time, the EPI, the extended program of immunization, the use of Orsaline, these are all communication, all this basically, basically the private sector and government sector, they invested over a period of time. So for fortified basically products, I think it is a slow burning process, but over a period of time, I think we will be able to see a huge market if we can basically make people aware. And also, we are still trying to understand the Generation Z and also the Generation Alpha, what they are thinking about. I think they will be more informed because of the digital proliferation and regional global media proliferation. So by that time, if we can start investing locally in terms of awareness, and then the investments will follow from the basically the private sector. And also if we can get basically the partnership with international organization through soft loans, through partnership, I think that will really help to basically get this opportunity, making it into a reality, so to speak.
Sure. And just like a follow on. So is it a price issue? So say, for instance, when you are producing fortified flour, is the cost of fortified flour much higher than the cost of producing non-fortified? And therefore you see that in a price sensitive market, maybe they're not like, you don't have the right consumers. What is on the marketing side, on the consumer side, what is holding it back? Because I'm sure people are looking for nutritious food. So is it price? Is it just lack of messaging? Or is it something else which is holding people back?
Until and unless you have the basically the scalability, economies of scale, it will be basically premium over the base product, so to speak. But until and unless, for example, like I said earlier, the commodity products are margin dilutive, so to speak. So if we can extend it to, see, companies, what do they do is they create a balance between the portfolio. Some of the portfolios, for example, if we talk about companies like Unilever, they will probably make huge margins from Fair and Lovely. They will probably make lower margins from washing powder and detergents. They create a balance. So if we have basically if we can extend the fortified food in different categories and we have the market, then I think the price premium or the issue of basically the highly priced, that issue will not be there. Because we will be able to create the balance between all the categories or the portfolio management the way we do, so to speak.
Sure. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Just to complement your question, I think sometime we travel abroad with few of our friends. They are mostly biological scientists, and first meal we eat with them, either lunch or dinner, and these meals consist of partially boiled meat and also vegetables. Second times, either we lose them to sit in the same table, or they come and sit and say, look, my head is swing. Why? Because we don't eat rice in the last meal and this meal. So see the situation now. As a biological scientist, you know the benefit of some kind of food, less boil, having nutrition, all these things. But they're basically they are in a big trouble because food habit is rice and they like to eat rice every meal. So this is the society, this is the situation now. And to come out from this kind of situation, it is not only the price proposition. It is primarily to communicate, to reach, and to convince with this kind of fortification. That's I wanted to mention.
And when producers say that it is fortified, it is not effective. But when the doctor says this product is fortified with a mineral or a vitamin that will help you to gain your weaknesses, or it will help your health, then I think people will have more, people will be more inclined to consume it. Because sometimes the as a producer's advertisement or producer's knowledge that they want to deliver, it's not acceptable. It's more on the commercial, it felt like it's an advertisement and stuff like that. But when the doctors say instead of having extra vitamin or extra nutrient, you can consume this product of the market, which is fortified with something, then it becomes essential. And then the consumers give more value to that judgment, to that knowledge. So in that case, it becomes more, I mean, the consumers understand I'm getting additional value for it, so I'm going to consume it. Then the price doesn't become very, I mean, it will, I mean, they look at the price as something beneficial to their health because they are getting an added value to that.
Sure. And we'll park this thought. I will come back to this, to this discussion, and we'll replace the doctor with something else and then see if that works or not. But before we go there, I'll just reach out to Monica again. So Monica, you spoke about the IFC's engagement in agribusiness, and we talked about how nutrition is, quite pivotal there. And of course, fortification is a subset of nutrition. I mean, there's many ways by which, nutrition could be promoted through investments, through engagement with our clients. Could you just walk us through a few examples of IFC's engagement in South Asia or globally where nutrition has been, or improved nutrition through those engagements has been one of our, development outcomes? So Monica, over to you.
Thanks, Harsh. So yes, we've made several investments in the space. So if we look at India, for example, where we've made investments in the private sector to promote availability and accessibility to nutritious food, the one that comes to mind is, for example, Suguna, where we've invested both in India and Bangladesh. Suguna Poultry, and Suguna actually supplies about a fifth of India's poultry products across the country. I also spoke about our dairy investments, and for example, we have an investment in a company called Dodla Dairy. Dodla processes over 2 million liters of milk a day, and they fortify it with vitamin A and D. And they sell it through about 2,000 distributors across the country. So with these investments, what I'm trying to say is that there is scalability, and we expect that with the distribution systems they're able to reach as big a cross-section of society as possible. Then we have an investment in a company called Big Basket, which now is owned by the Tata Group. They produce and market a large array of fortified and nutritious food products. They have rice and flour, which is fortified with vitamins, with zinc, with iron, etc. And this company has been actually growing its portfolio of products, including probiotics, which are healthy for consumption. I also want to talk about some of our investments outside of South Asia, for example, in parts of Africa that produce nutritious mixes that address malnutrition in the first 1,000 days of life. So, these are some examples where we've invested in food companies. But as I was listening to the conversation that was happening with our esteemed panelists, I was also thinking about whether, they spoke about price sensitivity, awareness, creating a change in culture, more acceptability. I'm also wondering whether you could, as you build awareness, as you build your capabilities in the space of nutrition and fortification, whether there is a space for some supply-led demand. When you know something is available, you then maybe tend to try it a little bit rather than the other way. First assess demand and then start producing. So that's a thought. Reactions very welcome. But I also, before I hand it back to you, Harsh, I was thinking of a parallel, not in the agribusiness space, but in the pharma space, where at least in India, we saw a proliferation of supplements and nutraceuticals because people have started realizing that prevention is better than cure. And nutritionists are actually taking a larger step, and a lot of people are listening to nutritionists, etc., to see what they can do to improve their lifestyles, their lives, actually prevent illnesses through some supplements. And I'm wondering if we could see something like that in the food space through fortification of foods. Over to you, Harsh.
Anybody would want to answer any of the two questions? The first question was, is there an opportunity for a supply-led demand? We produce and then we create awareness and hopefully the market would grow. You see an opportunity there. And secondly, just as in the pharmaceutical space, there's been a huge demand for supplements. And I think it's post-COVID, people have realized that they need supplements to stay healthy. Could there something be learned from that sector which can be adopted for agribusiness to push fortified foods? Anyone?
Thank you. I think we are in feed fortification business many years. I think last 5, 6, 7 years. As I mentioned in my discussion that it is growing, but growing very slow. The reason behind probably one thing is we are not promoting that much. We're not putting that much of investment to communicate with the consumers so that consumers get motivated and accept it. And we are not following up that way. We are only putting the product in the shelf and basically we are trying to sell. The reason behind is that market is very small and probably because of the nature of the market is not growing that much. We don't see that much of opportunity in a shortest possible time. So this is one of the problems. I think if international agencies and I think can support this kind of promotion and campaign and the communication and the government, I think it help to grow the mass market, and I think there will be great interest, no doubt. It will not go back, it will go forward also. And second thing is that in some cases, building capacity for the fortified food, I think it required also huge investment. And that investment is not, we are not doing that much because of, again, the same reason, our experience in last 5, 6 years is not that sustainable. So I think these are the reason why we consider that probably the market is very slow. But I think there are opportunity. I think huge population. We got a huge malnutrition. We need a lot of minerals and vitamins and a lot of supplements. I think there are market. I think we should address it together, international agencies, government, and the private sector, so that this market can be grown and society can be benefited. I believe it will grow if we can put proper investment. Thank you.
Sure. You want to respond, ma'am?
Again, I would emphasize the fact that knowledge, awareness, there's real deficiency about those in our country. Health education, nutrition information is a very rare thing. Nutrition itself is a very neglected subject. So if there is a way to educate entire population in this arena, I think everybody will have will see the benefit and will see the requirement for fortifying the products.
Sure. Okay. There are also myths around fortified foods. Now, and I don't know, I'm going to say something and please let me know if that is true or not true. I've heard from somebody that the shelf life for fortified foods is lower than non-fortified. Is that true? Because that's a risk then, your products, if they are fortified, then the shelf life decreases, which means you need a market so that those products are lifted before they get expired. Is that true that by fortifying or fortified products have a lesser shelf life than non-fortified? I don't know whether it's a myth or it's a fact.
It's a fact. For our juice products, it's a fact. But it's a fact till today because it's not backed up by some research and development. There's always a scope of R&D, and then we can develop the product. I mean, it's a matter of working in this field, and it can be, we can find a way out here.
Perfect. I have.
Point actually, if you look at large scale fortification in this country happen in rice, in edible oil, salt. So in this area, we don't see that much of problem. But Madam said very correctly that most of the milk product and juice product having this kind of problem.
I think there is a knowledge gap, so to speak. For us, what we normally do is before we launch the product, we do the comprehensive stability tests. So what we do is we try to qualify, we check before we launch the product. So I think it depends from product to product, which the basically distinguished speakers they rightly pointed out. For example, I know about basically the wheat flour itself. For example, the fortified one and the normal one that we have, the fortified one has a larger shelf life, which we have qualified through the comprehensive stability test. So it depends from product to product. But like I said earlier, that we actually need the specialists in this area so that we know that how basically I would say the developed markets, they are qualifying the higher shelf life through what sort of a stability test or what sort of a mixing facilities that they are using.
Sure. Okay. I have my last question and then we have time, so we'll open it up for the audience as well. So ma'am, in your example about the doctor prescribing and people therefore, accepting it more, suppose we were to replace the doctor with the government. That the government is promoting fortified foods and therefore it is not biased about, it's a profit motive or commercial, considered neutral. And that is creating the market and the awareness for then companies to start producing fortified foods in the market. Is that an option? And is that something that we request the state and the other sort of regulatory agencies to think? That maybe this communication, capacity building, awareness generation is, it goes beyond an individual company's wherewithal to address. That's one. And the second question related to this is, should it be mandatory to fortify or should it be voluntary? Now, I know as a private sector, companies and as investors of the private sector companies, we don't like anything mandatory because then, the compliance cost and, regulation, all of that is there. But it is needed, without which we see that there is very little uptake on the voluntary side. So as private sector entities, I'm being a bit provocative, should it be voluntary, left voluntary standards, or should it be made mandatory that no, you have to fortify? And it is therefore a compliance issue and no longer, a business case issue. So 2 questions. Would the state be a good player to promote this awareness, create that market? And second, should it be mandatory or voluntary? And, it's Chatham House, so it's good to hear in terms of what what the private sector thinks. Sometimes it's important to make it mandatory, but let's see, is it, what's the concerns with the private sector? Because anything which is mandatory comes with a set of costs. And is the private sector ready to bear that cost? Over to you, ma'am.
I will give you the example. I'll bring in the example of COVID, the vaccine that we took. It wasn't mandatory. It was more or less in Bangladesh, it was pretty much voluntary, and everybody took it. And it wasn't prescribed by, it was prescribed by doctors, plus the government was also there. So it was a dual initiative, and people's awareness and the knowledge and how the knowledge were delivered to the people had really big impact on the vaccine. At the same time, in the same society, there were few people who actually consciously did not take the vaccine. So there are some people as well. So I would just say that if it was a society's initiative rather than calling a government or doctors or nutritionists or whatever, if it's a combined effort, the knowledge comes from whatever source it comes. If it becomes a public knowledge, then it is more effective. This is number one. Number two is, nothing should be compulsory for the producers or consumers. If the consumers have the liberty not to accept fortified food, the consumer should also have the liberty of producing products which are not non-fortified and fortified. So voluntary, my opinion would be to do it voluntary, and then combined effort as that. And that's how we can bring in the success rate.
Sure. Dr. Ansari.
Thank you. Actually, if you look at the cost-wise, I think I mentioned in my previous discussion that considering the market, considering the growth of the fortified food, all the element, I think sometimes the investor little bit shy to be very aggressive and spend so much of money. In that case, if government promote the fortified food and the benefit and all these things through, of course, credible people and all this, of course, it will have a huge impact in the society, and the market will expand, and ultimately the beneficiary will be the private sector. This is one way. Second thing is that you mentioned about the mandatory. I think if you look at the salt, today, I think we cannot sell salt without adding iodine. And it is iodide salt and iodide salt and iodide salt. And this, the money we spend for iodine is very marginal, nothing. But probably if it is not mandatory, probably some of us through the process, we may not do it also, because without iodine, we can develop a salt refinery process much cheaper and all this way. So sometime, I think in some cases, the mandatory may work and it's useful. But what I mentioned about the first case, that is biofortification could be the best way when you don't need to mention, we don't need to promote that much. Only you need to build the capacity of some of the private companies. They will go for research, massive research, and add all this kind of materials, and ultimately it will come into the final product, that is harvest, and automatically it goes to the consumer stomach. I think this could be one of the best option. I think we should try very hard through this route, build capacity of the private sector, and target what are the fortified crop can be produced in Bangladesh, and that can be also supplied to the consumer. This could be one of the best way. Thank you.
Mr. Bassett.
Thanks, Mr. Ansari. So basically, I think we still do not have a huge number of evolved consumers like the developed markets. But at this stage, I think like for a fortification shouldn't be mandatory. But to have the readiness, I think the fortified range, the specifications and the standardization should be done. Because I know that our standardization institutes are affiliated with other standardizing institutions in the regional level. So I think the standards are readily available. They can have the standards, and when it becomes basically mandatory, then it can come in place. For example, when we were going to schools, in the elementary schools, our salts were not iodized, but it became mandatory because there was a need, and the whole world was moving to the iodized salts. So I think over a period of time, the other product segments, there will be a time when it will become mandatory. And if we have the standards for those products, we'll be able to implement automatically. And the the scalability will be there, the costs will be minimized, like the iodized salt. So it
Sure.
is not the, it is still not the time to make it mandatory for all the products or a large number of products.
Sure, sure. Monica, any reactions to what you heard from the panelists about the role of state in, playing that role of creating markets and awareness, and on this discussion around voluntary versus mandatory when it comes to food fortification?
So, as you said, Harsh, when the moment you start making something mandatory, I think the whole compliance issue comes in, and then I think that could create a little bit of a challenge. I would lean more towards voluntary, but I would also say that the communication around this, the awareness around this, should be stepped up, and probably is not the responsibility of a company alone producing 1, 2, or 3 products, but do this as an industry, do this through massive awareness programs, through awareness campaigns as an industry that is trying to up the nutrition quotient of the country. Take it as private sector responsibility, if you will. And of course, IFC is here to help and support.
Perfect. On that note, we are really out of time. It's almost 3 o'clock. I know there may be some questions in the audience, but please email us your questions. We'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we can connect over the coffee break and in the evening. But really, thank you very much to all the panelists. Thank you, Monica. And thank you, audience, for being so patient with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Harsh, we are really out of time, so I suggest to ask questions to our panelists during the lunchtime, because we do not have it now, unfortunately. And I also have a few housekeeping announcements. First of all, we prepared presents for all of you that you can take before the reception. And there is a surprise in this bag, so please come back to that room before the reception. So that's the first announcement. The second one is that there will be now a separate discussion for a business leads, which is by invitation only. So some people will be leaving the room, and please follow Harsh. He will show the way to the room where this meeting will take place. And the last announcement. So we want to make a group photo now. So I invite all of you to come closer to the stage and then turn to the door where we have our photographer who will take a group photo. Please do it as soon as possible, just quick. And then please take your seat back and we will continue with the panel number 4. Thank you. So dear guests, please take your seats at this room in case if you are not joining the round table that is planned for CEOs and that it is by invitation only. And we will continue our next session. It is a panel number 4. Apologize. Dear ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats in the room and we will continue our next session. So dear ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats because we are starting. After the insightful discussion on experiences, best practices, strategies, and solutions for effective collaboration at the processing level, it would be prudent to take a step back along the food value chain and explore farm-level nutrition strategies. Dear ladies and gentlemen, please take your seat because we can't start the session. Yes. I would appreciate if you could take your seat and we could continue the discussion. Thank you very much. So for those who missed the recent announcement, this session will be focused on food nutrition strategies at farm level. And now let me ask my colleague, Mila Pestun, Associate Operation Officer at the IFC Sustainable Crop Production and Smallholder Supply Chain Platform, to step in and moderate this panel. Ludmila joined, take a seat. Ludmila joined IFC Agribusiness Advisory Team in 2016, and since then has worked mainly with sustainable crop production and smallholder supply chain platforms. She has been involved in a range of projects, including Niger Irrigation Program, Heineken Rwanda, Nespresso Reviving Origins, and others. And since 2021, she is closely involved in developing and deploying private sector solutions for improved nutrition. Also, please welcome our distinguished panelists. We have Mr. Bharat Bangari. He is lead nutrient enriched crops at Gain, and he will be connecting us virtually. Also, we have Mohamed Abul Khayer Mia, Chief Scientist Officer Agronomy Division at the Bangladesh Agricultural Research Institute, Bari. Please take your seat at the stage. Okay. And also we have Muhammad Miznur Rahman, is Business Operations Manager at ACI Seeds. Please take your seat at the stage. And also I will have a mic that after the discussion, there
Yes,
will be
thank you.
Q&A session. Good.
Yeah. And if we have ushers to bring people from outside, because I think some people left the room, and thank you. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We're here to discuss biofortification and other nutrition strategies at the farm level. This is a topic that's been hinted on a couple of times today already. And we have distinguished experts with me to shed more light on what it is and why it is important. But before we jump into asking them questions, I have a question for you. Who and which country developed the first variety of rice that was biofortified with zinc? Any other versions? I have Bangladesh, Bangladesh. Well, it is Bangladesh, yes. All right. So, as you heard, my name is Mila Peston. I'm here representing IFC's Sustainable Crop Production Platform. And I've been working on crop production projects for over 8 years. And we touch different aspects of crop production. It's irrigation and good agronomic practices and soil health. And in our projects, with different clients, with off-takers and input providers and large-scale producers, we realize that malnutrition is a business risk for our clients, and it needs to be addressed. And biofortification emerged as one of the strategies to address this risk, to address malnutrition at the farmer level and broader population. There are other strategies as well. We hope we're going to touch on them. And I have a very interesting panel with me. I don't see our online participants. Bharat, is he here? I cannot see the screen very well, but I hope he can hear us. So we have Bharat representing GAIN, and we also have Dr. Mohammed representing the agri research in Bangladesh, and we have Mohammed Rahman representing private sector. So I think we're going to hear very interesting perspectives. And I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and then I will make sure we have time to turn to the audience and actually have some good Q&A as well. So I would appreciate if there are a couple of mics in the audience available in 20, 25 minutes maybe. All right. So the first question is, let's talk about the concept of biofortification. What is it and why it is important? And Bangladesh has rich experience. We're very opportune to be here to discuss this topic in Bangladesh. So what are the lessons learned from promoting biofortified crops? And this is a question to all three of you, so I hope you can jump in. You want to start, Dr. Mohammed? You can start, yes. Mic is on.
Thank you. I am Dr. Abul Khair Mian, Chief Scientific Officer, BRI, Bangladesh Agricultural Research Institute. I am very much little experienced in this type of program. I am scientist. I do research on biological sciences. We developed technology and sometimes we disseminate in farmers field, including some training, field days, and motivational works. Somehow I experience my knowledge regarding biofortification regarding this session. There are two aspects. One is food fortification, another is biofortification. Food fortification, it is very easy. There are some mixer or admixture of food products to increase or increase the nutrients. But in research, biological science research, we biofortify the product, that is crop. This is very difficult and very scientific. And the product biologically fortified, that is more nutritious and very adjustable to the body and physiological function of the body, and this is very congenial to health, development, and hygienic, etc. About 30% people face food insecurity in Bangladesh. Our government policy regarding this, at first, we should fulfill the demand of the food of all people. There should be access of the people to entrance the food market, that is food access. Another, we need nutritional food. Here is our theme, and we should concentrate in this aspect. Development of crop or food biologically, that is biofortification. There is two way. That is, one is breeding program or manipulation or gene transfer to increase the nutrients, where we expect that we should increase this nutrient or any nutritional aspects. Then we transfer this by conventional breeding or back crossing or gene transfer or genome editing. This is one way. Another way is that management practices, that is agronomic practices, optimum precision application of nutrient. What we want to increase, that can be done through agronomic management. In Bangladesh Agricultural Research Institute, we have some activities and developed some crop varieties. At first, BIRI, that is Rice Research Institute. I am not that institute, but it is in our scientific community. Biridhan 62, 64, 74, 84, 100 and 102. These 7 varieties are biofortified. That is, in case of zinc, these varieties are zinc rich. Here is a scope. The farmers level, those are small holder farmers. They can produce and consume it directly. And in the commercial cases, some entrepreneur or company can come ahead and produce this rice as branded and can available in the market, and there is a indications that is gene in this. And there are some product nowadays, it is market ACI zinc rich rice. It is available in Shopno and other shop. In the case of wheat, another crop, cereal crop, Bari Gom 33, it is also zinc rich. Next, Bari Mosur 8, that is a lentil variety. This is zinc and iron rich. Zinc content 33 mg per kg and iron 72 mg per kg. And it can be commercialized or market and marketing for a biofortified product. Potato variety 101. This is anthocyanin rich and it is cancer resistant. So it can be marketing as a biofortified product. Next, Bari sweet potato 1011, that is our carotene rich. This also can be marketed as a biofortified product. Seed wheat, a new era, that is blue economy. Bari developed 2 seaweed variety, Bari seaweed 1 and 2. Here has iodine. This is iodine rich and other mineral rich. And its solution is product in different companies, and it can be more attractive and more expanding. All these varieties are climate resilient. When we developed a variety, then we consider it is location specific or a particular aspects of development, that is nutrient rich or short duration or high yielding, etc. Nowadays, very small biofortified crop is marketing, that is only rice. Here is a scope of uh, go forward with this biofortified crop. for commercialization and as biofortified products. In future, Bari can do research uh, for development of more biofortified crop varieties because Bari do research on 211 crops. Some emphasis may be given in future to develop more biofortified crop variety. We can cooperate if the IFC want to collaborative research to development of variety and other aspect relevant this.
All right. Maybe we can also hear from private sector perspective on developing the bioversified varieties. Mohammed Rahman, you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderators, and I'm really grateful to be participating in these sessions. I think our fellow panelist has said a lot of advanced technologies that we have been developed both from public and private sectors. And as you heard, that public sector is doing fantastic, both from BUDDI, BDs, and some other research institutes also. But very few examples are coming from the private sectors. And we're the one who are from ACIs and doing substantial research activities in our programs from the private sectors. And I hope we have some notable success through our research so far, and hopefully it will be continuing in the coming days also. So as he has covered most of the research innovations so far, or the output that we have developed for the farmers in case of biofortifications. And yes, of course, some fortifications examples also there. And you see, and since he has covered most of the things, I'm just going to share about what are the lessons we have experienced for the fields. And that I really wanted to share with you. The first thing is that you see, we have seen in the fields that our consumers, specifically in the nutrition perspectives, I mean, biofortification know-how is very less from the consumer point of view. Meaning, the awareness of the consumers about the biofortification, I mean, zincs, irons, and vitamins, all those things is very few. And this is something that we need to take in care in coming days, specifically by highlighting the communication in building awareness to the mass. That is one of the important factors. Second thing is that the variety must be aligned with the expectation of the farmers. Whatever nutrition, we say that variety is enriched with these nutritions, but farmers basically is looking for yield, and yield. Nowadays, they could be extended on some stresses because if you really want to make our farmers profitable, either we'll have to increase the production or reduce the cost of production. Probably this kind of stresses, stress tolerance variety can be reduced their cost of productions. But yes, of course, we have seen this, our consumers so far, mass of the consumers so far are not ready to pay for this nutrition. But yes, things are changing. Our consumer preferences also changing, and some of the urban consumers is ready to pay for this, and this is the recent development that we have seen. And you see, if you talked about the yield, we see this, our fellow panelists have said, in Boro, BD has developed a variety called Bridhan 74. And these varieties, most growing varieties in the country. But the only criticism of these varieties is the grain quality is not matched as per the consumer expectations. So now we, private sectors, has aligned our resources and developed and released a variety called SA1, and that's a 100 days varieties is giving 6 metric ton yield. And these varieties is giving 25.12 milligram zinc per kg, and which is a substantial amount of zinc that we have introduced in our product. I'm sure there's this grain size is also slender, and this variety will give a very good solution to the need of the mass consumers. And another important thing is the duration is less, and this variety is fit in the cropping pattern because the potato growing area, especially Jaipurats and all those things, people used to grow even double crops in potato. So they needed short duration varieties, and 100 days 650 ton yield and high zinc, and then grain is also good, slender grain, and that's really fantastic proposition that we have bred from the private sectors. And I'm sure these technologies will help our farmers. And policy support, this is another important issue. You see, the government is buying paddy from this year in almond season. They declared 33 taka per kg, means 1320 taka per 40 kgs. rice. But the policy is given emphasis on procurement of zinc and rich varieties. So far, no. So if the prices remain same, probably our farmers will not put their concentration that much. And this is the area probably policymakers should take care of it. And through this platform, I think this should be the recommendation from this platform to take care the fortified variety, biofortified varieties in a different price propositions. And yes, of course, building demand, that is another important aspect that we need to take in care. Probably both public, private, medias, and all those, we can have a collective efforts to promote biofortified crops and all those things. And of course, adaptability is another important issue because we have bred so many varieties, but does the varieties is fit in the right conditions in right places? That is very important propositions. And probably adaptation is much more important to be addressed. And I think these are the learnings we have learned, and probably you have much more learnings from the fields, and hopefully these collective results will take care of in the future. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bharat, anything to add to that? It was quite comprehensive, but I'm sure you have additional thoughts.
Yeah, thanks Ludmila for this, and I hope I'm audible to the panel as well as the audience here. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, sure. Thanks for inviting me to this panel. And as Mr. Rahman just concluded that, I totally concur with what he said. One of the challenges that we also encountered in the whole biofortification value chain or biofortification space, and experiencing it from the 6 countries where we operated in last 5 years, is that demand. So, our terminology for it is demand. So what he said is consumer awareness. I think that's one of the most critical pieces that we have to, still have to solve. The production aspect is there, and as he rightly said, and as earlier was also mentioned, that farmers are looking for yield, and I think that's the only thing that they will keep on looking at. You know, we keep on going from different dimensions like livelihood, from irrigation support, and from agronomic support. But ultimately, end of the day, it's the yield that matters the most. We have experienced that in Bangladesh with Breedhan 74 as well as Badi Masoor 8. Both of these varieties are very excellent in production, and that's why farmers have adopted these. On the other hand, the market awareness, the consumption level market awareness of the consumers is still at a very nascent stage, and I think that needs to be addressed. And also the third point, I'll kind of double down on that. What he said is the policy support from the government. So there could be couple of ways of doing the policy support. One of them is, of course, increasing the procurement prices, but that's one of the, that's in most of the countries and most of the nations, it's a little political thing, and it involves a lot of stakeholder management. But I think one of the strategies that we have seen elsewhere and not in Bangladesh is that government invests a lot in the social safety programs, and that kind of gives a very large consumer base to these crops. Once that large consumer base is created, then you leverage the consumption, the demand pull from these consumer base, these social safety net programs. These could be school feeding programs, these could be public procurement systems, public distribution systems, and distribution to the BOPs. This is, at this stage, I'd like to just highlight these 3 points. Yeah, thank you, Mila.
All right, thank you. So I hope we have a little bit better understanding what biofortification is and how it happens and what kind of challenges we can encounter on promoting, on the way to promote biofortified varieties. I want to touch on some aspect that you mentioned, that farmers, especially smallholder farmers, they frequently worried about their food and nutrition security. And to grow crops, to have food on our plates, we need farmers to be able to produce food, and to produce food in an effective manner, in high yields. You also mentioned yields a lot. So maybe you can touch a little bit why investing in improving farmer nutrition is a smart investment for private sector. We know that it is a smart investment for public sector, right? The public good is pretty clear, but can we touch on how it is what is the business case for private sector companies to invest in farmer nutrition? Maybe private sector, who can start?
You see, the farmer are those, they are producing both biofortified varieties and even they don't produce non-biofortified varieties. Again, these produce will come into the into the factories and then introduce fortifications and all those nutritions in there. But yes, of course, the prospects that we have seen, that in our earlier speaker also said that as a company, we have seen the prospect of both biofortified and fortified products. Both has a huge potentiality. Why I'm saying that? Because you see, probably a variety is might have some zinc and rich varieties like SA Dhan 1. It is 100 days varieties. But if you talked about the Howard ecosystems, or if you talked about Gopalganj and Bagarhat and all those things where monocropped areas are there, probably they will not able to grow these varieties. But they could produce some varieties there. And these varieties has given some yields and this can be even converted into fortification. And these also, moving to the consumer tables. So I think now the shifting consumers, general consumers are ready to, especially in urban area, ready to pay for the nutritions, and the health consciousness also changing significantly. And I'm sure this would be the business proposition. But yes, of course, as a company from the ACI, from the private sectors, we are also interested, and you already heard that we are in fortified rice, especially in Jira Shile, Najis Shile, and also Qatari. So this fortification has done, and we have launched these products through our channels and by assuming the business cases. And of course, we are targeting biofortification also because, as I said, we are in rice. We have already developed 2 wheat varieties. There is high gluten and high protein content percentage, and these varieties is given 5 metric ton yield per hectare, whereas our average national wheat yield is about 3.6 metric ton per hectares. So mostly 6 metric ton wheat per year we have imported because of meeting our local demand. But this high gluten percentage variety high gluten is actually used in the bakery industries. But you see, we are importing right now, meeting our demand. But now we have bred some varieties, and these varieties can help to meet our local demand. And the things is that now locally we can breed some varieties, and Buddy has rightly said, we also developed some of the beautiful varieties. I think this is the time to align in our plan strategies so that we can create a market both from public and private sectors. Thank you.
Very good call for action. Farhan, anything to add? I know Gain has a lot of experience in that sense.
Yeah, I just want to add to the point that I mean, these are all stakeholders. So Bree is, of course, I mean, Bari is doing a lot of excellent work in developing these varieties, coordinating with various CGIAR institutions and developing these varieties. And of course, I mean, there are companies like ACI which are there coming in the or they're already there in the biofortified space. But I think there needs to be a more holistic approach where all the stakeholders are taking up the different pieces of the work. So along the value chain, from the research all the way to the consumer's plate, we have to carefully look at the nodes of these value chain and then kind of in a very collaborative manner work upon those things. It might not be possible to for one stakeholders to address all the nodes of the value chain. So I think from research, we go to the markets, we release the variety, there's a seed demand that's generated by the farmers, then production is there, then the processing of that is happening, then marketing, and then of course consumption is happening. So I think each stakeholder has a very distinct and very different role to play in along the value chain. And I think more collaborative efforts could be put in for increasing the consumption of these biofortified crops.
Thank you so much. Dr. Abul Khair, anything to add?
There are some disadvantages in fortified foods or processed food. There needs additional involvement of cost. And another aspect, there may be some adulteration of different dishonest businessmen. So people are sometimes reluctant to this fortified products. But biological product, that is biofortification, there is no scope of that. There is no additional involvement of cost and no adulteration aspects. So it is more effective. In the case of malnutrition, mostly village people, rural people are faced in this problem. Their income is little and their food habit is some restricted in some crops. So they can easily utilize this biofortified technology or variety. They can supplement and they can recover their malnutrition problem, and the excess product they can sell in the market. There is good scope. So at farmers level, biofortified product is more effective, efficient, and we should collaboratively active to forward with this technology. Thank you.